Okay, greetings. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. Good morning. Greetings to everyone. Welcome to Dorsey's Resource. First, before I get started, I'd like to give a disclaimer. This video is for informational, educational, and entertainment purposes only. Please understand everyone's individual stance or situation may be different. It's up to every individual competent person to please do his or her homework and research regarding the matter being discussed. This information is not to be construed as legal advice. In the event you feel you need to seek a competent professional, it is encouraged you do so at one's own leisure. Dorsey's Resource Channel is not liable or responsible for any misuse of this information. With that being said, all rights are reserved. Greetings, everyone. I wanted to do topic instead of a screen capture. I thought about another idea. I saw another content creator do this where I'm going to use the camera to show some sites that I pulled up instead of doing a screen capture video. I may do another screen capture for what I want to illustrate down the line, but the title of this video was along the lines of who owns or controls the banking system. Affect the Q&A. I can't remember the specific title, but I put something like that in there. I can't see to find where it's at, but this is going to be on that topic or whatnot. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you guys can see, but I'm going to go over this was shared with me, just some basic information. First of all, like who owns the Fed. So I'm going to flip the camera around so you guys can see pretty much. If I can pull up, if I can get a kind of a good view. I'm flipping the camera around. Okay, if you guys can see, this is a chart, a map I just wanted to show. You can pull up online. If you do a Yahoo search, it says chart of who owns the Federal Reserve. Hopefully you all can see. All right, I'm just going to go through a rundown. But there's an actual chart online that shows who the shareholders are of the banking families. And this is why in some of my previous videos, I went over was shown in Money Masters, the documentary, which kind of goes over the history. But this is an actual map that you can see and you can read. Hopefully you guys can see the website up here. And this was actually shared with me some years back with the guy I work with. He had a FBI license. He was a private investigator, and told me he found this, and I asked him for this information. I thought I had come across it before, but I'm just going through a rundown. Shows different corporations that they own or control, insurance companies, from what it looks like. Some of them go way back. Now, keep in mind, like it's saying published in 1976, so this is older information, but this will kind of give you an idea of the different corporations they were shareholders of or in control of. You see General Motors is in here. You see AT&T is in here, Mutual Benefit Life Insurance. And you might be wondering out there, this does tie in with that stuff that some of you all out there refer to as the straw man or redemption education. But I want to show there's credible information on this topic as well. So this is a map. I want to jump real quick because I really didn't want this video to be that long. Hopefully you guys can see okay, but this is what's you can pull up online. It says map of the Federal Reserve System. You can do a Yahoo or Google search. Now, if you pull out the dollar bills or currency in your pocket, it will list, if you look at them, it will list which Federal Reserve Bank it's issued out of, for example. But this is like a map right here. I'm going to bring the camera up so you guys hopefully can see. I'm just using my webcam kind of guiding so it's level. So you can actually pull this up online to reiterate once again. I want to show evidence out there because there's those out there that will try to say that this information is conspiracy theory. It's not real, it's fake. And I just wanted to show there is evidence. This is very real. This is factual. I even worked a guy, well, he used to work for the company that I'm still with now. Worked for, what do you call like those armor companies that deliver the money like Brinks? and Loomis and those type of companies. He worked for one of them. I won't say which one, but you guys get the idea. They picked the funds up from the Federal Reserve in Michigan and Detroit. It's based out of the Chicago branch, by the way. Like in different states, I can't say for other places, but there it used to be downtown Detroit. They moved it to a different location, which I actually know is near the Eastern Market area, by the way, in case you all are familiar. And that's where they go pick the FRNs. Actually, it's because it's really not money. It says right on there, it's a Federal Reserve note. Legally, it's a Federal Reserve note. Let me say that again. It's not money. I use the term currency. Some people use the term funds because when we were being taught by elites at this event I attended some years back, which you are familiar with, they refer to as currency or funds. They don't use the term money. People still do, but that's a general term. But legally, it's a Federal Reserve note. And I won't get into how it's literally like monopoly money at a high level because it's people's faith that they put into exchanging it as a legitimate form of a bartering system, a form of currency. But it's legally, it's not money. It's a Federal Reserve note. It states that on there, but it's legal tender. Mine says right on the note is legal tender for public and private debt. You can pull out any dollar bill and look at that. But just the concept, you know how Brinks and other armed security companies, Loomis, etc. There's different names, Garda. They go to different banks or businesses that need cash flow or whatever. I'm kind of building you guys up for something. Let me go back to jump, see how we're looking. Hopefully it's kind of level. I'm going to the live feed. Okay, I'm greetings. I didn't just went back to the live feed very briefly. I see Aubrey. Good morning, Dorsey. Happy New Year. That's right. Happy New Year to you guys. Happy belated New Year. This is actually the second, but never too late, never too soon. But Happy New Year. CJ love the videos. Very informative. Appreciate you, CJ. Richard, Kadria, Rick from Detroit. Happy New Year. Thank you, Rick. Big shout out to you, Richard, as well. So go back with this site I pulled up. We have coinflation.com, by the way. There's another site called Kitco. Well, I hadn't checked this in a while. I used to check this more often, but the price of silver is showing right here is at $15.43. It dropped a little bit from this morning. It dropped like 3 cents just from this site. It fluctuates in various amounts based on other sites, but this is the general amount. I remember sometime last year when it was down to 14. Something. And I remember when it literally went, I think for a short period of time, it even dropped below $14 per ounce. And then it's showing you where gold is at 1,284.20 an ounce. Keep in mind, if you do purchase bullion gold, if it's not numismatic, but let's say if you got a gold buffalo coin, it would be $100 extra. It's called a premium. It's like a unofficial tax that you're paying. But if it's that same amount, if you were back, then you would get that premium back. But however, if it drops, then I'm not by no means am I expert, but this actually happened to me. Then you will get less than what you actually purchased it at or whatever. And it's a reason why I'm going over this information to keep it real basic. The commodities market is very manipulated. I won't go into all of the details. I don't have all of my notes. Some of you all are already aware of this that are advanced out there, especially a lot of people who are into trading the cryptocurrencies, which is like an underground stock market. A lot of people had advanced knowledge in that because they already had a background that was similar to trading, dealing with stocks and things of that nature. Commodities is similar in regards to that. So I wanted to show you guys real quick. See if you're still with me. I'm going to jump back. Okay, still with me. So this National Debt Clock, this is a site you can go to. It's called usdebtclock.org. Now, for whatever reason, when I originally pulled this up, it didn't come up at first, so I had to manually type it in on Yahoo this morning. But it shows the U.S. national debt is saying at 21,908,841,000,000, and it's the numbers are steady climbing. As you guys can see, this is in live time. Now, since took office, it was at 19 trillion, so it's jumped 2 trillion. But it shows a breakdown of the debt per U.S. citizen, 66,745, because there are those out there that tell you that it's some sort of conspiracy that the country did not go bankrupt in 1933 when they took us off the gold standard. And you had House Joint Resolution 192, which is Public Law 73-10. And there's another law in regards to it, the congressional session that took place, because there's this troll that claims this information isn't true. This straw man theory is just fake. It's just made up. X, Y, no. I'm here to show you this is actual proof. It's highly inaccurate. And I'm going to go over a little bit of other things. There's so much of a breakdown of things I can go into where they did declare it unlawful to own gold and silver. There was a $10,000 fine back then. That was still, someone was saying that they needed to see a case law to verify this. There's a case law that's related to when the court system changed in 1938. That's the Erie Railroad versus Tompkins case. But however, there's actually a statute at large that backs up HJR 192 that's real. I can't remember it offhand exactly. And there's another statute that shows there's another jurisdiction that still exists if you know how to invoke it. I won't go into the details of that. And that's in Title 12 of the United States Codes. And by no means is this legal advice. I did give a disclaimer. I'm just referencing these laws just to show verification, evidence, to give you guys homework to do. So don't take my word for what I'm saying. But you guys can see how this is in real time. As we scroll down, you can see the mortgage debt saying U.S. total interest paid, Medicaid. I even heard that this doesn't show everything, that there's even another clock that breaks down the different state debts more in depth, that goes even further. So, you know, there's a lot on here, but jump over real quick so you guys can see. We jump down at the bottom. You see how it says, I'm going to put the mouse icon right here. It says dollar to silver ratio in 1913 was $2.65 per ounce. Now, this is telling you what the price of silver is actually supposed to be at per ounce. Now, you might say, wait a minute, Dorsey, didn't you just show us? Yeah, if you go back to coinflation.com, this is showing $15.43 an ounce. So let me click and update, see if there's any more updates. So it's dropping today. So that's why the down arrow dropped 1 cent from just now. You see in real time how I just clicked on that. So we go back to the 1913, the dollar to silver ratio, saying the dollar was worth $2.65 per ounce of silver. And this is what it's supposed to be at. See, it says now, I'll put it up to the camera so you guys can clearly see. Dollar to silver ratio now, it's supposed to be at 599 FRN's Federal Reserve notes per ounce. That's what it's supposed to be the worth. But notice right here, if you were to go purchase it, you know, it would be like a $3 extra charge if you're buying regular straight bullion for 0.99 point content of silver. If you were to buy 1 ounce, it might come around 18, 19, depends on what dealer, whoever you go to that's selling it. You can, people also purchase on eBay. You can look up the prices, but notice this is $15.42. You have to ask the question, why is it that cheap? And this national debt clock is telling you it's supposed to be at $599 per ounce. This is when people, you know, just keeping it basic, have not studied the banking system and don't realize that this redemption education, I just want to show evidence, does tie in with every citizen, the national debt, what they did with the birth certificate, which is a form of a registered security. As one lady was saying, that it's not a bond, but it is a form of a bond. And the Social Security QSIPs are attached to that bond, the QSIP. So I'm going to go back to the chat. So I see some more people in here. Says I'm gonna put the camera back around so I can acknowledge everybody. All right. Okay, I see George Hagaman said, Happy New Year, brother. Appreciate you. Happy New Year to you as well. Just why when Squidward goes to Africa, he becomes okay. Um, Alan Thomas, message retracted. Okay, I didn't see that. It's Kripon, what's up? Okay, greetings. AB says, why didn't IQQD RV? And I'm just giving my opinion about that because this is not legal advice um, or financial or currency. This is just my opinion from research, what I've studied. Um, though thus far, I just heard recently, you can do your own research. You know that there is alternative media sites, and there is truth to them, what they're saying. You have to. I recommend, in my opinion, cross-reference the information. But the latest update I heard is that some allegedly some arrests have taken place. That I don't know how true this is, so I can't verify. And I'm real careful of that as a citizen journalist. That you have to evaluate properly. But there's some people, they tried to attempt to move a large sum allegedly with the Treasury. Then I've heard some of the same cabal members that some of you all know about, who've been behind the banking cartel, which I'm gonna go back to this document real quick over here. See, it says this chart, who owns the Federal Reserve. And I'm not saying the names, but here's one, Lazar Brothers. They actually had a store similar to Hudson's or Macy's down in Columbus, Ohio. When I was there some years ago with a friend of mine, we were on our way to Kings Island in Cincinnati, Ohio, some years back. But that's just to give you guys, so proof right there. Okay. So, thank you for sharing great information. I heard of those arrests too. Yes, thank you for confirming. It says, what website is that? That website says www.saveapatriot.org, but it's got a hyphen symbol, www.save, and it's a hyphen after save, then the letter A, all lowercase, and another hyphen, then patriot.org or whatever. And I would just recommend doing like a manual search on that online. This was actually relayed to me by a friend of mine at the time. He used to work for the same company that I'm with now. Some years ago, he had a PI license. Just to show credibility, I was going to do a video to explain, because there are those people out there that say this information is not true. It's conspiracy theory, is not real, and I'm just here to show evidence. It's kind of playing on my intelligence, but I want to show you guys proof without barely having to do a screen capture video. Because there was a troll that said the other day that when I was doing a lot of videos from the vehicle that I was in, I was actually at work at the time. They were saying I was living out of my car, but I wanted to show, no, I have an apartment. I'm at my place right now. And I just wanted to show from pulling my webcam around the sites that I pulled up and the type of research that I do. You guys can do the same thing. You all have all the power. However, it's people listening to disinformation that are not properly making a proper assessment. They're not dissecting this information. They may not have been informed in some instances. So this is not to bash you or to blame you, but there is information to validate what I've discussed in previous videos, that this information is real. And in some instances, you have to cross-reference and connect the dots together to formulate a proper picture. I also recommend like dollar bill, for example. Matter of fact, I admit I should have brought one. I'll come back. I'm gonna come back right quick, so bear with me, guys. Okay. Okay. I just wanted to show, since some of the information I went over previously, click that out the way. Okay, hopefully you guys can see up to the camera. It says this note is legal tender for all debts, public and private. It says Federal Reserve notes. And lists, notice which has this letter and that map that I showed you guys earlier, how it has E. That's see which bank that is. That's for Richmond, Virginia. So this note was issued out of the Federal Reserve Bank of Richmond, Virginia. Okay. And I'll show you guys, I'll take you to the map real quick again. I'm going to flip the webcam around and show you guys. Now, Virginia is number 5, which is the 5th letter in the alphabet. Zoom in so you guys can see. Okay, put it up there. Okay, so hopefully you guys saw that very well. Now, this note has a different letter on there. So notice this says H. Let's see which Federal Reserve, which branch. This is out of, this is saying the St. Louis, Missouri branch. Okay, so I'm gonna go back, see some more people in the chat. Says Alan Thomas says minor to age of majority. Yes, I'm a little bit familiar with that because they say when you turn 18, that represents or symbolizes your bond from your birth certificate or bond certificate mature. When you become an adult, that was actually the first maturity date on there. I see Jakisha Wright in the chat said Happy New Year. What do you think is going on with the RV and GCR? I saw your message, Jakisha, before. If you could, I wanted to touch bases with you too. By the way, I got your message from a previous video, and it was I noticed what you had mentioned previously. I'm in agreements about from before with the Treasury, and I just heard recently that something, I don't know how true it is. I can't verify, and I did give a disclaimer, but just to kind of give you guys an idea, because this is on a much bigger scale. Like the title of this video was like, I can't remember specifically, but it deals with who controls us, who owns us, the banking system, who's in charge. And this is what I'm kind of giving you guys an idea, because people, I was at an event, this retreat this past summer, resort, and it was a discussion that came up about Kanye West. Some people were offended by what he did with Trump. And I had brought up, it's much bigger than with Trump or Obama. It deals with the Federal Reserve, the people, the real puppet masters, the people that control the strings and things that's happening at the top. That's why I went over, I'm going over this dollar bill. But what I personally think, also what I heard was that the same people that are part of the cabal have were stalling this for years. And I've previously mentioned, check out the documentary you can watch for free on YouTube. It's called Changes on the Horizon. Please check out Changes on the Horizon and download it if you can, before, in case they try to remove it or take it down. You never know with all the censorship going on. But it, in my opinion, it provides a proper education behind that as well. So Jakisha, if you can, if you're still watching, still listening, DM me. I want to get in touch with you, because it looked like you had some skill sets that I think I might know who you are or have done some research. So I just want to let you know, if you're still watching, I want to reach out to you, or you can reach out to me, direct message me. You're definitely somebody I want to get in touch with. I remember the message that you had put before, and that's my opinion. But my opinion, I don't really talk about the dinar as much anymore. Like you guys saw, I did videos in the past I used to put out on a more regular, consistent basis. And I have a subscriber that reached out to me, I won't say the name, that actually has played a critical part dealing with that. I assume that was curious about some information that I knew about that he may not have known about, but has some very, from what it appeared to be, credible, how can I put it, criteria that I was looking for. Like specifically the previous video, I put out a message of what specific types of skill sets I was looking for, because I had some people contact me and they basically they didn't meet the criteria. And then I helped out people in the past. So I don't want you guys to think I haven't helped any people out. I was part of a group last year. I was actually invited to this group on the Discord app, actually back in 2017, when the TV broke out in summer of 2017. And I was working with the group until about the middle of last year, just privately. We were sharing information, having discussions. But a problem that I had when you working with lots of people, I was explaining to them that the webinars, even though they cost money, they're important as far as the study material you need to learn this type of information. And this information is unconventional. It says, I will send you my Skype number. Do you have a Skype or WhatsApp? Actually, I don't have the WhatsApp, and I do have Skype, but I haven't been on there in a while. So yeah, if you still can, I'll have to look into that. Maybe probably more so Skype. I can check into the WhatsApp. So yeah, still send me that info. Or let me know, or is there any other platforms or any other ways to communicate with you? But maybe if I can get back on Skype. It has been a minute because Microsoft bought out Skype, and that kind of messed up everything. I didn't go on there as much, but I believe my email is still the same. I might have to do an update, like with my password information. So yeah, I appreciate it. Definitely, I think you're on point about some things. But my opinion about the dinar, I think, is definitely when you study the people running things, there's also a power struggle at the very top too, with some things that's going on. And the cabal is very real. I was discussing with a coworker. He was saying he thinks that all the elites are rich are the same and that they're all evil. And I said, in my opinion, I don't feel that they're all evil, but I feel definitely he agreed with me on this. They don't see eye to eye on some things. They don't get along. He definitely agreed with that. And one thing you can point to, for example, because a lot of people like to bring up race, it's a very complex, very complex. I could go more in depth, but I didn't really intend for this video. It's maybe easier for me to do a screen capture, but because you have different factions of people out there, just as well as the elites, you have different factions where I won't name the families or whatnot, but many of you all know, and they all don't see eye to eye. And one example, if you've heard of the Georgia Guidestones, which it lists on there some goals or guidelines that they want for the future. And one of them was to reduce the world's population. It stated this actually on the Georgia Guidestones. And I heard that since a group had defaced them, wherever it's located at, I guess somewhere in the state of Georgia, they have security watching it in real time, 24/7. But it was put in place some years ago to list, like, these were the goals of the elites, the super elite, the ruling class that they wanted in the future. And one of the goals they wanted, what they said, to reduce the world's population from over a population of 500 million and keep it sustained at that level. So that would mean, if that's the case, that means a lot of people got to go. So it doesn't matter in a certain sense what race, what skin color you are, that they mean business. So I think there's another group of elites that said they want to preserve humanity. And in what I've heard, in my opinion, about okay, I see your Skype. Okay, thank you. If I could write that down. I don't have my pen around, but I'm gonna get that information. Definitely appreciate you, Jakisha. Much love to you. But just explaining, like when I was having this discussion with a coworker of mine, for example, that this other faction of elite, I think, is trying to preserve humanity. And what's actually going on, I was explaining to a friend of mine with Kanye West, it's not about his support for Trump or whatever. It's much deeper. You got to follow me, though. Those of you all who really, really understand what's going on, and you really have your eyeglasses on, and you're really in tune with your third eye, that it's a bigger agenda that you've heard. If you've ever heard of Silicon Valley, what's going on, I guess, in San Francisco out there, they're into advanced technologies and things. It's not a coincidence that YouTube has a headquarters out there, Facebook, Google, not just Google has a facility there, but they have a headquarters like in San Francisco. That's not a coincidence, because it's all, I guess, near Silicon Valley, and they have this advanced technology and stuff. And what I've heard is that the super elites, this one faction, wants a technotronic society where they want this, as crazy as it may sound, where they want to merge with machines. Now, this was depicted, if you remember a movie RoboCop years ago. A friend of mine was telling me RoboCop depicted this concept to kind of give you guys an idea. Says Trump was put in office to take down the cabal. Yes, yes, you got it. You understand, overstand, I should say, very well. Not just understand, it means to stand under, but I would say you overstand. Thank you for confirming, Jakisha, because a lot of people I talk to, they don't get that. They make it personal. They make it about race, whatever. Not saying you don't have things that go on, demographics, different areas, but however, there's a bigger agenda. And what I heard was that Kanye West had met with Elon Musk because Elon Musk, by him being at a certain pedestal with the super elites, with being with Tesla, being the CEO, or like the Bill Gates of Tesla, he was invited to some of these meetings where they said, yeah, we want to merge with machines. We want to kill off humans. We want to kill off humanity. And we don't want them to have access to these technologies and things. And he's like, wait, not I heard Elon Musk, but some other elites. And they said, wait a minute, you know, we want to preserve humanity. So I think he, in my opinion, he reached out not just to Kanye West, but other people who sincerely want to preserve humanity, because a lot of the people from sports athletes, entertainers, you guys already know, they're bought off and paid for. Even though they make billions or millions of dollars, you know, they are basically the people controlling Hollywood has them as the puppeteers. You know, they still have to be loyal to them or their whole careers can be taken away. Like when Sean Penn, the actor, spoke about out about 9/11 some years ago, a friend of mine told me this. I didn't even know who Sean Penn was. He said they sabotaged the rest of his career, so he never was like at the pedestal or plateau that he was at before. So that's how they punish you. And they're using the banking, the financial system to do that. That's why it is definitely one faction of elite that is against another faction of elite. And I'm gonna be honest with you, and I know this, I can break this down. As much as a lot of people love certain individuals, like I can name some names that keep in mind, how can I put it, that they are putting on a facade too. But these individuals are really connected to the cabal heavily, you know, such as Hillary Clinton, Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Oprah Winfrey, even evidence. Oprah, it's a known fact, she's a billionaire already. She was invited to these meetings in New York some years ago. This was put in the news. She met with some of the most, what are known for the most notorious, powerful people in the world. Before he passed away, she met with David Rockefeller, Ted Turner, Bill Gates. You still might be able to find the video. This was actually aired on the news, so this is not fake news. See, I'll mention something that I have confirmed that I know about, but like the other thing earlier, I cannot confirm that. It's just from an article that I read, but this actually happened. Oprah met with these people, and if you know about the eugenics agenda, and you've seen the movie called My Alpha 21, which you can watch for free on YouTube. By the way, it's spelled M as in Matt, A as in Allen, A as in Apple, F as in Frank, A as in Apple. My Alpha 21. If you watch that documentary and it gets into eugenics and thing, it's really deep. But Oprah met with these people. There's also an agenda to get rid of the family structure, and that's why there's an attack. I could do a separate video on this, but I would have to work on notes and information. I give a disclaimer: this is not to be offensive to anyone, but this is what the ruling class has an agenda. They're into what's called social engineering. So that's why there's an agenda to destroy the father. Remember if you saw the documentary, or remember when Aaron Russo was interviewed some years ago, he was a producer that produced the movie Changing Lanes with Eddie Murphy and some other actors. He did a documentary called America Freedom to Fascism. It was called America Freedom, and you can still watch it for free on YouTube. It was already seen by millions of people. I mean, I even heard famous people. But Aaron said he got the opportunity some years back, in case you don't know the story behind it, just to give you guys a short background. He was running for governor of Nevada some years ago, and Nick Rockefeller's lawyer contacted him and asked, she said, would you like to meet Nick Rockefeller? He said, sure, why not? So make a long story short, meeting Nick Rockefeller asked him, he said, hey, Aaron, do you know what that women's liberation thing was about years ago? And I said, no, we gave some type of answer. And he said, no, we were behind it, or we funded it, or whatever, to basically break apart the family structure. That's what the women's liberation movement years ago, the late 60s, going into the early 70s, it picked up momentum. And Gloria Steinem actually admitted that she was an agent sent out by J. Edgar Hoover. This is facts, declassified information. And she recruited a woman within the Black community named Michelle Wallace. That's why when you had years later through the Black exploitation movies to program African Americans and Black people psychologically, like with the movies like Color Purple, while Oprah's connected to the feminist movement, and Alice Walker, all of that is part of the program. I mean, in some remnants to this day is to divide the men and women apart, not just racially, but even within their race through the mother and the father. So they want to kill off the strong alpha male men, because the alpha male men who are exposing this information can challenge the elites, can challenge the globalists. So similar to the animal kingdom, how other rival animals will kill off other animals before they're able to fully mature, become alpha, whatever, to challenge the power structure of how, like, similar to how the jungle works, or whatever, the ruling class, the global crime syndicate, as some people refer to it as. Some people refer to them as the cartel, but remember, they are the ruling class elite, and it does tie in with the banking system. To jump back into the chat real quick, says George Hageman says Above Majestic's documentary on YouTube is a good resource to check out. It's called Above Majestic. If you can give a little bit more information on that, George, I'd like to check that out. Like the subject, what did that documentary deal with? There were some other good documentaries, and this is why I always do this updated videos on must-watch documentaries, or documentaries I highly recommend, and even movies to check out, because and really, if you do your due diligence and take the time, especially if you're still on holiday break from the New Year's or whatever, these documentaries provide the validity and evidence behind what I'm sharing with you all, and will help connect the dots. Like I mentioned, Changes on the Horizon, Money Masters is a good one, Monopoly Man, in case you never saw that before. Mainstream movies where they want this dystopian future or Orwellian type future to check out is Hunger Games, all of them, of course. Check out Divergent, must see. Surrogates, that came out in 2009, I believe, with the actor Bruce Willis. There's so many to name. Actually, just trying to go off the top of the head. Kill the Messenger, which was based on the reporter that worked for the San Jose Mercury News, Gary Webb, years ago. That came out, was released at certain theaters across the country, I believe, sometime around 2014. Where it wasn't in every major theater, but at certain select theaters across the country. And the guy that played in the show The Wire, I can't think of his name at the time, he played in that movie, was based on how they brought the drugs in, and specifically into Black communities. And the rapper that took the name Freeway Rick Ross, that was based off the real Freeway Rick Ross, was connected to knowing some things in real life to Gary. He actually met Gary Webb and found out what was going on back then, but they made a mainstream movie about this. The guys that did an excellent job. I still haven't saw it yet. I think I have it. I just haven't looked at it, but I get the concept, of course, offhand. So I see someone just jumped in the chat. It says Legoland also reveals the conformity and the structure of big business actually running everything. Okay, I have to check that out. I'm not familiar with that documentary. See, there's so many out there I haven't even checked out, just going by some of the main ones that I know about, which will really are eye-opener. And check out Endgame is a good documentary with the green logo, not to be confused with the mainstream movie that I think Cuba Gooding Jr. played in some years ago. This was a separate documentary that dealt with the Bilderberg. If you type in Endgame, E as in Edward, N as in Nancy, D as in David, G as in girl, A as in Alan, M as in Matthew, E as in Edward, called Endgame, and put it in on YouTube, and you can still, it has like a green logo. Endgame Blueprint for Global Enslavement came out some years back. Excellent documentary. The particular talk show host, he met with other people from around the world. There was other investigative journalists, reporters. Daniel Esterlin was in that documentary. He's like, it was an investigative journalist from Spain. I'm not sure it's part of Europe or whatever. They came in Canada where the Bilderberg meeting takes place in a different country every year, generally every summer around the early part of June. But remember, the Davos group is like the public side version of the Bilderberg. They never wanted the Bilderberg to go public, but because a certain amount of journalists throughout the years were covering it, it started to become more public. And actually, a couple politicians, it was discovered back in the 90s, who were caught attending. There's a rule in the United States where they have something called the Logan Act, and it's so private where they literally try to smuggle you in. A lot of times you can't see who comes in because they're in cars that have diplomatic plates. They're in cars and helicopters. They even bring people in, and these vehicles, automobiles, have tinted windows. So it's hard to detect. But I heard a couple individuals were fined like over $200,000 according to the Logan Act. There's some type of rule where politicians, they're not supposed to meet in secret or whatever. That is really was real or whatnot. It says Mrs. Robert Mon. So I can't really pronounce the name, so I'll say Mrs. Robert. Says, what do you do? Okay. I work in a form of security, by the way. And one of the things, I did a video in the past where I went over my credentials, and I was thinking about doing another one to show the credibility behind my research. And you guys can see right behind me is my bookcase. I have other books, another bookshelf, and other books. So many I haven't finished reading. I can do skim reading, but I know information. There is information on secret societies, a lot of information. I have a friend of mine, well, I'm not the only person that knows this information. Trust me, it's millions of people, not just here in the United States, but worldwide, that know this information to be reputable, credible. But you have this faction of people, they debate you and call you conspiracy theorists. But I noticed with some of these people, a lot of them are in TV shows and stuff that are not even based in reality, or comic book or fanboy stuff, and they try to accuse you of being a conspiracy theorist when we're going over stuff that's been written about, that has already been put in newspapers or credible information. But as far as my credentials, when the individual just asked me in the chat, I do work in security, but throughout the years, I've had a chance to work with people who were lawyers, judges, private investigators, firefighters. I worked with a guy, he was EMS. I didn't even know I learned about the different classifications of the paramedics, that they have level 1, level 3 paramedics. I didn't know anything about that unless I worked with one. I worked with scuba divers before, and I would talk to these people. We would share information with one another, and that's how they can't stop people from talking. I also worked with a lot of former military. One of the things, one of the people that helped wake me up many years ago, and I didn't originally know this, so it's not like I came on him or picked information, but as he got to know me and I kind of passed his, what do you call, like background test, or, you know, when till you really get to know a person, and he saw that I was trustworthy and I was learning some of this information. I didn't know as much as I know now. I found out, had a top level secret security clearance in one of the branches of the military. I won't say. Of course, I'm not saying his name, and I won't say which branch to protect his identity. But it's not just him. I know it's other people I've met throughout the years who shared things with me. This is real. I'm not making this up. I swear on both my grandmother's graves. You know, I don't have a reason. I'm about to be 40 years old this year, so I'm about to live about 4 decades. So I know what I'm talking about is real. So I'm gonna jump back in the chat real quick. I see Jakisha says ex-Fed Chairman Ben is the biggest street dealer, and the Gates are the biggest legal poison and pharmaceutical dealers. Yeah, you on point about that. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and if you look up former Federal Reserve Chairman, another way that I show credibility when there are those who say, oh, this stuff is conspiracy theory, the Illuminati is not real. No, it's important, and it is very real. And keep in mind, Illuminati is just the umbrella term used to describe or depict the elite ruling class. And it's a pecking order in the secret societies just as well as corporations. I didn't really go into how the Bilderberg works, but they invite top corporate CEOs, people in different disciplines, to try to get them to network, but for enslavement purposes, to better control and enslave humanity and things of that sort. But look up information on Ben Bernanke. What I was going to mention is I learned when I took, I was in college, I got my associate's degree, by the way. And a matter of fact, I worked for the school I went to, by the way. It's called Davenport University. It was bought out, well, they bought out what was called Detroit College of Business at the time. And the campus that I went to was in Dearborn, Michigan, which that campus moved to Livonia. They sold it to some people in that area or whatever, I believe of Mediterranean descent, and they turned it into a school. But they moved the campus I went to was the Dearborn campus. I'm actually rocking my alma mater, whatever. I'm sure, and I have a lifetime membership there. I do have a degree with them. I didn't finish for my bachelor's. If I decided to go back, I did check. I was 13 classes away from a bachelor's degree, by the way. And I took macro and microeconomics, and we discussed in my macro and microeconomics class, we talked about the chairman years ago, Alan Greenspan, a previous chairman of the Federal Reserve banking system. So to show credibility to a friend of mine that this conspiracy theory are made up, I learned some of this information in college. And I even learned years later, a class that I was getting ready to take that was going to be required, but I didn't get the chance to take it yet, was called Business and the Law. And a lot of students who go into the legal profession or even accounting, because it gets into accounting, legal, and even other aspects of the legal industry, I learned that book specifically deals with this movement in the redemption education. By the way, it's called Business and the Law. And some years back, I actually downloaded some PDF files on the book to prove that how this information was related. They have a chapter on negotiable instruments, which deals with like things related to the movement, how people were doing money orders and cashier's checks and stuff like that. When I was learning, we were being taught by these elite group, whatever. They have a different way that they operate, unlike regular people in society. And then they had a chapter on what was called, I went over negotiable instruments. Oh yeah, secure transactions. The chapter on secure transactions dealt with UCC financing statements. Now, the people that write the book, a lot of times they'll have master's degrees or PhDs, would know what I'm discussing. The chapters generally on secure transactions and several books that I looked up. And nowadays, my friend's wife was taking that class. And from what he was telling me, what they're doing now is they make the students, they have to download it, where they can't even keep the physical book anymore or whatever, something like that, where the way things are moving online. See, they're doing things in a way where they're getting rid of, they fit like physical paper, and they can change things around too. But there was a chapter on negotiable instruments. Secure transactions actually dealt with UCC financing statements, like this, not learning how to file your property, like just to keep it simple, like in the county, the state register, secretary of state, which is similar to the county registrar, or as it called, county registrar. And then you have state register. You have to pay attention to the definitions and names. Then you had another chapter on called intellectual property. And this chapter dealt with like copyrights and trademarks, similar to running your name in the newspaper. And if you know about ownership, or from the legal aspect, that how an unrebutted affidavit works, that if you submit an affidavit and it goes unrebutted to whoever you're submitting it to, and they don't rebut the affidavit, after 30 days, it becomes law. When they don't rebut it, it says in commerce, if it's done properly and you go through the proper steps, and you run it on the newspaper on top of that, you gave public notice, and you know what you're really doing, you can execute some really powerful things they call declarations and stuff of that nature. So because many have not taken a legal class or don't have a background, that's why it's misinformed people who maybe in some instances that just simply don't know where they're holding up the court system, or just when you see a lot of these these videos that try to say these sovereign citizens are fake, it's not real, whatever. That's a lot of people that don't have as much information, that just read a little bit off the internet or whatever and just ran with it. And a lot of that is even old information that's outdated, that they haven't taken a legal class, so they don't understand some of the concepts of the private sector or advanced information. They just heard a little bit. And remember, that's also an umbrella term too. The word sovereign citizen is an umbrella term that's meant to discredit I like to refer to as the redemption education, to steer people away from looking into that type of information, so the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing, and vice versa. They don't want you knowing about that information. I have a relative who was part of a sorority, won't say which one, and she admitted to me some years ago from a private conversation that we had, by the way, and she was a Hillary supporter, and she even admitted, she says, I don't think, nephew, that they wanted people to know about that information. See, I believe it's real, but they don't want people to know about that. This is what she told me, just to show credibility from another relative. And I've had other people tell me the same. Appreciate. I'm gonna get ready to shut things down. Hashtag stay woke. Yeah, we gotta stay woke. Definitely, because there's some really deep things. We're in 2019, so I want to thank you all for joining me. If you did take the time to join me, happy belated Merry Christmas to all you guys, and Happy New Year 2019. If you haven't subscribed to me, you can follow me at Dorsey's Resource on Facebook. I'm on Twitter at Dorsey's Resource, and of course YouTube. Not on Instagram yet. I'm working on it. Maybe some other platforms. Depends on how things are flowing down the line, and we'll see. Until next time, take care. Peace.